hour. So I think we got a couple of late comers, so they'll slide in whenever they show up. But when they get us kicked off there, I appreciate everybody coming. I think this is going to be a great talk. I don't think there's anybody around that hasn't been touched by IT problems. So this is definitely perfect timing, I think, for all of us that have gotten spooked with Equifax and all that kind of stuff. Basically, Brad Storz is our guest speaker with Cirrus IT Solutions. He's a local businessman here. Been started his business, I believe, in 2005, so he's definitely been around a long time, serving a lot of clients. I think between 10 and 200 employees. Author of a book, Extinguishing IT Fires Once and For All. So I know we all appreciate him coming, and we definitely are looking forward to figuring out how maybe to better protect ourselves as far as IT. Brad, appreciate it.
Hello. Thanks again, everybody, for coming. Got a lot to cover today. Like I said, I'm going to try to squeeze it all in and get it into a abbreviated fashion, but there's a lot of information to tell you about. A lot of things that we're going to be looking at to try to protect your business and to save you lots of money and the ability to even stay in business at times. The number one security threat to your business that your antivirus software, your firewalls, and other security protocols just can't protect you about. We're going to talk about a shocking truth about bank fraud that most businesses don't even know, that could literally wipe out your bank account, and why firewalls and antivirus software aren't enough anymore. Data protection and what you need to do to protect yourself. The bank fraud part is really, I didn't realize it until quite a while ago, but did you know that your consumer account, your personal bank account, if somebody hacks it or if your credit card gets stolen, they're going to cover it. Sometimes there's a $50 deductible, but they take care of it. Well, those protections are not in place for your business account. The bank does not have to give you any money back. So if you have an ACH wire fraud, money stolen out of your account, I did the seminar with Regions Bank, and they said, well, they do everything they can to try to help you, but if the money has already been wired to, it goes to England and then gets switched over to Africa or to Romania or Czechoslovakia, there's nothing that your bank can do. And if it's 300 grand, the bank is not going to say, sorry about that, we'll give it all back to you. So there's some things I'm going to talk about as we go deeper into that. Ultimately, I'm going to talk about how to avoid being a sitting duck. Most of you are already using cloud computing, and you already have employees that have mobile devices at work, and that's not going to show any signs of slowing at all. However, as most of you are adding on those elements in a haphazard way, instead of being smart and strategic about it, and because you're making expensive mistakes and exposing yourself to unnecessary risks. So who is Brad? So I'm an IT services provider, and we've grown from there. And the business, as well as technology, has evolved over these decades and the years, and now it's evolving every quarter. It just amazes me trying to keep up with it all. Well, we've been here since 2000, and our offices are right over off Broadway, right across from Dead End Barbecue. And I started off as I was growing up as a firefighter. So when somebody would have a problem, they pick up the phone, we'd run right out, take care of their problem. In those days, I was making $3.77 an hour to respond to those emergency situations, and I thought there might be a better way. Then computers came along, so that was kind of fun stuff. Started working in computers, and still did that same break-fix mentality. You break it, and I'd come fix it. And then it got a little bigger than me, so you break it and we'd come fix it. And it's just one of those things that I've learned that by proactively taking care of issues, all of those breaks and those fixes can be mitigated much before it actually happens. So that's how we've adjusted the business, is by providing those fixes before they actually happen. And the company itself, we are now an IT department for multiple businesses, and we've partnered with we're here in town, but we've partnered with a group of like-minded managed service providers, and we're technology solutions providers now. And we built out a help desk in Dallas, and we're called the 20. And so we have a full help desk that's able to support IT businesses 24/7. We are working on a national footprint right now. We've got 150 business owners, and we all do the same thing. So I supported one of my peers. His business is in Ohio. He has a client in a crane service in Knoxville. We were over at their office last week and supported them. So we're able to work across the country for you. And we do it differently than I've ever done it before. Now it's flat fee. It makes it so easy. And when I mean flat fee IT support, if you have a new computer, we will install that computer. Of course, you got to buy the computer, but we install it free. If you have a new printer, we install that printer. If you have a support issue, it's all at no extra charge other than that first price. So it's a flat fee service. You get one bill at the beginning of the month, and it covers everything. I've got a client that is, we're in the process of doing an exchange, changing over their email system for 50 people, and that is part of the service. So we're taking care of that whole thing for them. And we've actually got up to 40 people right now, and growing. So that's who I am, and what I am trying to do to protect folks. The cybercrime business has really changed. I mean, it's just amazing how it's changed. If you think back when it all first started, a guy back when there was only horses and buggies and things like that, a guy would get a gun and he would go jump out of an alley. He'd rob somebody, and as long as the sheriff wasn't around, he'd get away with it. You know, he's good to go. Then they got smart. They actually found that the train would come through town, and there'd be 200 or 300 people locked on that train. They didn't have anywhere to go, so they'd rob the train. They'd get 200 or 300 people together all at the same time, and they were able to rob them. And again, as long as they were lucky, they got away with it and took off. So now, with the way things have happened now, it's they're able to sit in another country and break into these databases and get everything that we hold dear to ourselves now. So this is as of last week. Not long ago, we had Yahoo for 320 or 32 million. I think it's 32 million. Equifax is the most recent one, and the Equifax is going to haunt us probably literally for everybody in this room the rest of our lives. They broke in for 43 million people. They got name, date of birth, social security number, driver's license number. They've got their anything that you have. I mean, everything about your mortgage, about all of your bills. I mean, they've got the database. So that database hasn't shown up yet, but it will at some point. Somebody's going to sell it. It's just too lucrative not to sell that thing, and that's going to affect all of us. So I'm going to tell you how to protect yourself with that. But that's kind of how this has been going. You know, instead of just going after a small group of people, 143 million in one hit, and they were in that database for quite a while before Equifax was able to find it. And if you think that if they can get past the Equifaxes and the Whole Foods and Target and JP Morgan, those kind of companies, you know, what chance do you have? So what I'm going to do is try to give you some things that you can actually do to protect yourself against those things. So there is a chance. I don't know if you remember, now this goes back a couple years when JP Morgan was hacked, but then right after that it was Target, and then Home Depot right after that. I lost my one credit card. As soon as I got my credit cards changed off from the Target, then Home Depot got hit, and it was actually Adobe before that. So it just, you hit all these the credit card changes, but you know, it was a pain because you had to change you know, your auto payments. But you know, I didn't lose anything because the banks took care of us and they covered everything in advance, and that was on the residential side. Then from there they've really, and that was about when it all turned. That was about 2 years ago now, And last year it was worse, and then now this year it's even tenfold worse. I'll show you. The digital underground is really just amazing how much money they're making off of us. I did a dark web. This is some dark web stuff where these things live at. Right now, as of just this past month, there's currently over 6,300 dark web storefronts selling ransomware with over 45,000 product listings.
You might want to let everybody know what the dark web is in case they don't know.
Well, out there on the internet, we go to good places. We go to, we go to our email, and we go to LinkedIn, and then those kind of places. Well, there's a whole other world that we don't go to, and on that, that's where the criminals live, and they actually provide data like this. You can buy your data on the dark web, and you can then they kind of live in that area. You can actually buy antivirus or buy viruses there. Yes, sir.
Why can't they shut them down if they can identify their locations? Do they continually change their websites or portals?
Yep, and they're all over the world. So so they may be starting the attack in another country, but they're using our infected computers and servers to hit us. So it's really hard to track them back to find them.
Is there any worldwide or even national service that tries to hunt these?
Sure. Department of Homeland Security starts off the FBI for us, and then they do work together, and they have actually taken out some big players at times, but as soon as you take one out, 10 more pop up, and when you can go and buy a system to deploy this, it just amazes me. This company, Carbon Black, predicts that based on the current trends of ransomware, that they're going to get better targeted at attacking specific companies. It's going to be increasingly make the use of social media content like Facebook to spread and will become aimed towards specific industries, specifically legal, healthcare, and as well as tax preparers. So Phil, protect my data. A real quick story. My most recent accountant prior to Phil, I don't provide his IT support specifically because I want that buffer between us. But that same at the other place. But I found that the other provider was not protecting my social security number and all that information. I ended up leaving the company because of that. First thing that I did, Michelle, right when I walked in the door, let's go look at your server room, and we did a security analysis, a quick security analysis, but verified that he's got it all working, and he's doing everything that he can to secure my data. And I wish my doctor would do the same.
And we really appreciated that too.
Yeah, and it's it seems paranoia, but it really isn't anymore.
There's been some big tax firms in the area that
get
were
hit
hit this last year.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's got my social, it's got everything. So you think, but everybody here in the room, we're small. Nobody's going to mess with us. They're going to go after the Equifaxes where they get 143 million. Well, let me tell you, it's 1 in 5 small businesses are falling victim to cybercrime each year, and that number's growing. I think it's gone up even since this slide. Small businesses are low-hanging fruit because they don't believe that they're a target, and half of all the cyber attacks are aimed at the small business. It's every time you lose, let's say you're a financial company and you lose each record of a person's data, that number comes it averages out to be a cost of $216. But it doesn't really account for the reputational damage to your customers when you have to send them a letter and say, hey, sorry, I just lost all your stuff, but we got it covered now. We're all secure now, but you need to have consumer report, or you need to have Equifax for the next year. You're going to have a loss of clients. Well, Equifax is offering it for free. Class action lawsuits, legal fees, compliance lawsuits. So it really doesn't cover all of these additional things and that a breach is going to have happen to you. But you're definitely, depends on how many clients you have, you can consider yourself, that's the number. that you can expect to pay out for each lost record. Trying to find these guys and trying to protect yourself from those things is really tough, because right now we're seeing that just phishing attacks, almost 50% of the users out on the internet are being phished, where they're trying to get your credentials. So they try to steal them from the Yahoos and places like that, but they will email you directly and try to steal it directly from you. And this is what we've been seeing as a trend, and what we're seeing in things happening right now. On a daily basis, we're looking at 25,000 new malicious links to go to. On a daily basis, 6,000 new phishing sites. Most new phishing sites will only stay up for a matter of a couple of hours. They go after the group of people that they're attacking, and then they come right back down again. So it's very difficult. Actually, if you want to consider it, antivirus software is no longer useful. At the signature database, and I'll rephrase that a little bit. The signature database antivirus software, where you would scan against a list of bad places, that's no longer useful. Because the things are changing so rapidly, you can't download your Norton fast enough to be able to keep up with it. New malicious IP addresses, 100,000 a day, 1 million new files every day, and then new malware and potentially unwanted applications, 100,000 a day. So again, it's just impossible to keep up with it. One of the companies, they gave you some swag back here, is Webroot, and the way they are doing it is by not. They keep all their data up in the internet, so they don't have all that large program files on your computer, so it runs real smooth. And they are actually feeding a lot of the other companies the data. So they're almost the de facto standard now for actionable threat intelligence for the security industry. All right, have I scared you enough yet? I've got more.
Is Webroot like an antivirus?
It's an antivirus software, but not as a signature-based antivirus software. And they've got there's some really neat new stuff, AI type of things coming out that we're researching, and it looks at what the thing on that link on your computer is wanting you to do before you actually click it. So there's some really neat new things coming out to try to protect us from getting hit by these things. So the big point here is that 50% of small businesses have been breached in the past 12 months, and or will be in the next. So the actual number's gone up, but I like the number 50%, half and half. So half of you sitting in the room are going to get hit, half of you will not. Is it your time? It's really probably pretty higher than that, because you really just don't hear about it, because who wants to admit that we got a ransomware infection, or we were hacked and lost all of our information? I don't want to tell the state of Tennessee. I don't want to tell HIPAA. And so companies that can get away with it will absolutely try to. I've seen a company just pay the ransom and not admit that anything had happened to anybody. I said, no, you really need to tell the FBI so we can track this thing. No, we don't really want to. We don't want our clients to know that we've had a breach or we've had somebody infect us. So that's it's embarrassing. So a lot of people don't even say that they've done it, and it's really bad PR if people find out that you were one of the people. And then, let alone that, the lawsuit ramifications are tremendous. People instantly started suing the Equifax, so and they will definitely start suing you too if you let your data get out. So I know you guys are sitting in the room, so this actually brought you in and you wanted to talk about it, but you have to do something actionable about this also. So I appreciate the fact that you're concerned about your the security protections, but you actually have to take it home and actually do some of the things that I recommend here to you. And so let's get into the list. So the 7 biggest threats and how your organization can stop them. Number 1, you would think that the bad guys, the cyber thugs, are your number 1 threat. Well, let me tell you, they're not. It's the employees. The employees are the ones, even your good employees, are the ones that delete files. They click on phishing emails. They innocently log into compromised Facebook pages. So even the good employees, and I can rattle off all the viruses that I've stopped from the good people. Just thinking, well, I needed that invoice. I said, well, have you ever been emailed by that person before? Well, no, but it was an invoice. I got to pay for it. And of course, that's an infection. And employees, we were talking earlier about Dropbox and share confidential information. You may or may not know who's using Dropbox in your company, and it makes it easy for them. So they don't turn on 2-factor authentication, so that anybody that can guess their password can get into that data, which gets into your QuickBooks file or gets into your personal records, and all that stuff is just sitting out there. And then that's the good employees. What about the disgruntled employees and the ones that you have to terminate for cause? On the way out the door, they are taking everything they possibly can if they see it coming, and they will. I had an insurance office. The main agent deleted everything, deleted all the files on her way out the door. Good person, been there for decades. I mean, you never saw it coming, and we were able to restore it from backup, so it didn't affect. It was just a process to go through, but still, it does happen, and it can certainly happen quickly. So having that good backup is so important. So to be able to restore your data after a breach or after a deletion. So. I used to say, well, you got to have your backup because there could be a hurricane come through, or you got to have your backup because there's a tornado. We had one down south of town not long ago, and it wiped out a bunch of places. So you've got to have your backup. There could be a flood. Turns out that really isn't the worst thing that could happen to you. Over 60% of it is because of the people doing things that they shouldn't be doing. So that's your number 1 is employees. Number 2 is malware. Back in 2014, 82,000 new malware threats a day. So I went back a little bit. And that's like trying to literally stop a tank with a squirt gun. 82,000 a day. That's just how are you going to keep up with 82,000 a day? Now, as of 2015, it was 1 million threats per day. So that was actually 2 years ago now. And what's happened is that it's evolved from there, and that was all signature based. So they would make this list of bad guys, and we could run the antivirus software against that. And when we saw that, you stop it. Well, now it's changed. 97% of new malware is polymorphic, and it's unique to your computer. So you're getting that email, you're getting that virus. Nobody's ever seen it before, ever. And then malware and potentially unwanted programs have become polymorphic, so they literally change their signatures every time they get deployed to a new person. It's 1.6 new and unique instances of malware per program. It is just amazing at how it's changing. Yes, sir.
You consider like these unwanted pop-up ads that can come in like on an Android phone, malware? I mean, is that...
If you didn't ask for it, now an advertisement, it could be the web page that's serving that advertisement up. So you went to the web page, so you are kind of asking for it. What's happening though is the bad guys are buying advertising space on those web pages, and when you go to that web page, whether on your computer or on your phone, they then automatically install a program, and then that's what becomes the unwanted program. And sometimes they will pop up a screen saying, your computer's infected, please call this 800 number. Microsoft needs to talk to you right now. And most of us have seen something like that, or have seen somebody.
Wife about those, but I'm talking about like ads that come in like on my phone. Like, I had a software upgrade and it went away, and then somehow months later I'm starting to get they're ads for legitimate companies, but it's like they're forced.
Yeah, the program that is on your phone is the one feeding those ads to you, and you didn't ask for that program, so that is a malware program that's on your phone. And phones are hard to work on and hard to get rid of those things. But you made a statement there when you did your phone upgrade, it went away. Mm-hmm. And then you went someplace, or they got you again, so that they were able to feed to you again. So yeah, the Android store, you've got to be really careful on installation. And the Apple store is not as bad, but they definitely can infect your phone. It's crazy.
So if a malware program gets on your computer, what is it that they're seeking?
They're doing a lot of things. They'll do a pop-up, hey, call us in because we want to charge you $300 to clean your computer. They will, right now they sit there and they'll wait, and then they'll deploy a software program. I'm going to show you where all the spam is coming from. They use your computer to start sending out spam. They have the ability to do a lot of things in the background without you ever knowing about it. While they're there, they're keeping logs of all of your keystrokes, so that they are watching your bank sign-ins, and they'll actually have the ability to sign into your bank. I've seen them do some ugly things with that information. So the ones that pop up are actually good. You still have to check to make sure that there's nothing hiding in the background, but it's the ones that you don't see are the ones that are really scary, because they can get all of the other things, like this bank sign-ons. And there's programs that are specifically looking for bank credentials.
Brad, question.
Yes.
When they do log on that way, can you go to control panel and go in and find your programs, if that's the way to do it? Adam's my guy.
Yeah.
But does it actually list it as something that's been installed on that list of?
Very rarely. The potentially unwanted program, Map Galaxy, I think is one of them. They will show up on the list. But I would think 20–30% of them only show up in that list. Almost never do you see them in there.
So you can't uninstall them?
No. No, you have to go find them with malware scans and antivirus programs. Yeah, so they don't even show up. They just start popping up these ads like you're talking about. And what they're after a lot of is going into that bank fraud. They're looking to work their way into the middle of a conversation to steal credentials. And we actually had one about a year ago now. The bad guy on the other end, on the receiver's end, snuck in on his Yahoo account. And my client was communicating with the good guy. Then the bad guy stepped in and said, hey, no, use this email address, and changed in the middle. We caught it pretty quick and found out what was going on. And they were in the process of doing a wire transfer of $300,000. And it didn't go through. We didn't send the money, but we caught it early enough. But he thought he was talking to the other business partner and was about to, send it to the other business partner's new bank. I don't know the whole story, but UT just had something very similar to that, where they paid out a lot of money to people that shouldn't have gotten it. And once that money's ACH'd out, it's almost impossible to get it back. So things that you can do to protect yourself against those things from happening. And I grimace even when I say it. Cancel your debit cards, because we use our debit cards so much. But cancel your debit cards for your commercial account. Use a credit card for your commercial account. Again, you can still use it at your personal account, but if you're paying mortgage out of your checking account every month, and they get that, it still takes them time before they are able to replenish that money. So they don't immediately give it back to you. So debit cards are the #1 way bank account will ever do it, but try to run on a clean machine when you're actually doing all of your banking stuff. Sign up for email alerts, so that if you have a purchase over $500 on your credit card or bank, or whatever number is just above the norm for you, that it sends you a text message or sends you an email. It's nice to, as soon as you swipe the card, you get that text. So it works out real well, and you'll know and be able to attack it if somebody is trying to get your stuff. You'll be able to notify the bank quicker. Any wire transfers, check with your bank, make sure that they will not do a wire transfer without having your signature, that they won't take one over the phone, or you can't do it online. How often do you wire transfer money? It's for the most part, most of us don't do it often at all. I've got some businesses that do it all the time, and it's a real pain, but it saves them, if it saves you a couple $100,000 a year, it's worth it. And then put your money in multiple accounts. Carry crime insurance. I carry $1 million of cyber liability insurance on me and my company, along with errors and omissions insurance. You have to look at your insurance policy because a lot of this cyber crime is not covered properly. It doesn't cover disgruntled employees, and it doesn't cover these things, but there is insurance policies and add-ons. I offer my clients $500,000 as a rider onto my policy. So that if any of these things happen to them, that they'd be able to get through the $201 or the $200 per occurrence. Those things the insurance company can help you cover some of those expenses. And then the number one thing after the Equifax is freeze your credit reports, and it is not easy. You have to go to TransUnion, Equifax, and all three TRWs. All three of them, and manually do it. It cost me $5 or $10 for myself and my wife at one of them. You have to go to Equifax and say, don't give out my credit to anybody. So if I go buy a new car, I have to approve that pull on my credit report, because the bad guys are going to have all this information. They are going to start going out and getting credit on our behalf. And I didn't put it in here, but file my taxes as quick as we can January 1st. So every year I want to get it done as quick as we possibly can, and I want to have it done before the bad guys. I'm not sure if you guys saw that much, but I know it's becoming an industry trend to file people's taxes before they do.
Let's say you don't freeze your credit report. Do services like LifeLock, can they notify you quick enough to stop transactions from going through? I had it for a while. I had a satchel stolen in Memphis with a bunch of information in it, passports and everything. I signed up for LifeLock back in 2008, and then I dropped it, and then when this Equifax thing happened, I signed back up again. But they were very good. If I was going to go buy a car or doing anything, I would be notified immediately while I'm sitting in the office that they were running it. So, I mean, if you freeze your credit reports, I guess it makes it very cumbersome for...
It does.
To do any transactions with banks or mortgage companies.
Yeah, the LifeLock does something very similar, I believe. And I've read, I don't have LifeLock at this point. Dave Ramsey also offers more of an insurance coverage, so that if it does happen, they help you fix it. Because there's a lot of time invested. After you lost that satchel, there was a lot of work to go through to get all those things repurposed and notified. So a service like that, $15 a month is absolutely a minimum. But I guess absolutely minimum is freeze your credit report, and then from there you can do a LifeLock or one of those other services that'll help you. They claim that it's just brutal trying to, if your information does get stolen, to try to actually get it all fixed again. It takes a lot of hours.
Brad, I was going to sign up for that free service with Equifax. So I hit the button, took me over to the screen, and says, give us your name, give us your social, give us your information all over again, to a company that just lost every bit of it, and I'm putting it back in. So I didn't trust them, I didn't do it.
Oh, it goes even better.
Same thing.
When you
Not doing this.
Yeah, I'm going to trust them again, so they can just redo it again.
When you first signed up for that, in that list also was the fact that you would no longer sue them directly. You would go for arbitration only, and they threw that in there. They said, "Oh, but it doesn't count for this one. Just for the next time." But no, no, I didn't go for the free service. I'm gonna trust the Fox to protect me. No, thank you.
Yeah, I
So-
felt exactly like you did, and that's when I re-signed with LifeLock. And
Yeah.
You clowns, I'm not gonna trust you.
Yeah, so what I just did is just froze my credit report, and now nobody can get into anything without me having to go and give them a code or allow it.
And it's just the three main ones, Transamerica, Equifax, I can't remember.
TransUnion.
Yeah, and there's a fourth, a smaller now, that supposedly has some of our data, but I don't recall that name. I'm just used to the big three also.
Okay.
All right, so 2.1 trillion is what cybercrime is going to cost businesses by the year 2019.
We're in the wrong business.
Oh, I'm gonna bring this home. Yeah, it's just amazing what you see here in a second.
You talk louder, I couldn't record that when you said it.
2 seconds is all that it takes for you not to become a victim. All you have to do is when you look at that email, you stop, take 2 seconds, look at it, think about what you're clicking before you click on that link in that email. So it's all about users doing the majority of the infecting and users trying to fix us. All right, so we're up to number 3. Let's keep going. Number 4 is social media. Threat is really security. This is a new one that's happened in the last month. There's a phishing scam going out that says that you're a trusted contact, and they want you to help somebody get. So my mom's Facebook account emails me and says I'm a trusted contact. They want my help to get her signed back into it. And what they're really doing is they're phishing me for my information, and they're going to take me down this rabbit hole. So I give out all my information, and then they're going to do the same thing to all my people. They never had hers to begin with, and sometimes they do come from an infected account, and they work on everybody off that account, and they kind of grow their system. So it's a little bit of work, but that's one thing that's happening right now. Another threat is the significant loss of productivity. I know none of us are going to admit that almost 40% of our employees use almost an hour on social media. There are some people that are doing 2 to 5 hours a week. So it's really that doesn't happen, right? Nobody actually does that. So I said, well, let me show them one of my clients. So this is actually these are the first page of my clients, and I pulled the data from the 1st of last month to a couple days ago, and I watched, and my systems went through 25 million total internet queries from the clients, and we blocked. We actually had 1,400 security threats. We prevented 784 malware infections. And we blocked 190,000 bad web pages. Those pages that show up all the time and then go away. So we did an amazing job of blocking and protecting them. But I went a little bit deeper. So I took the social media list, and this is where the employees have been going. From September 1st until now, the number one place that they are going is Facebook. 260,000 requests to Facebook, and this is just local businesses. I'm all over the place, but still, these are my customers. Gmail, 70,000, so people checking email. Amazon, let's go shopping, 60,000 requests to Amazon. You've got to keep up with Twitter, right? 47,000 times in the last 45 days. YouTube, it's training videos, all right? Yes, that's all we ever see on YouTube. 37,000. AOL still exists. 21,000 people checking on AOL, which is going down. Pinterest, Instagram. The one I love, the one at the very bottom of the list, 8,900 times to Netflix. You figure, okay, a movie starts every hour and a half, and yeah, and that one is here recently. The boss said, the reception just doesn't ever seem to get anything done when I'm not here. What's going on the internet? And she was watching TV.
Watching movies.
She was watching movies all day long. And also in social media, you can also have really well thought people. They're trying to do good things for you as far as broadcasting and helping your company do social media. But these folks thought it would be a really good idea at a mattress place in Texas to show 2 giant stacks of mattresses being fall over for their 9/11 sale. So for their September 11th sale, they knock over 2 mattresses. So the advertisement actually closed them up. They didn't survive it. It went viral, and they just couldn't come out of it. So they were gone. I'm sure they opened up under another name and another company, but their reputation was, boom, gone. So, well, I mean, they were just trying to come up with a new way to advertise this 9/11 promotion, and just didn't think it through. All right, so number 5. Ransomware is the biggest cyber threat in 2017 and growing tremendously. I love this one. A writer once asked a literary agent, what kind of writing pays the most? Her answer was simple: ransom notes. So I created one for you. I know it's Monday morning, but you can't use your computer now that you clicked that link. And you get back from vacation, you click the link, you come back on a Monday morning, and your machine is now gone. And the bad part about it is the decryption is impossible. I'm going to show you what ransomware does to you. But once it is on your computer, the only way to get the ransom back, or to get your stuff back, is to either pay the ransom, and that rarely works. It does work sometimes, but rarely, or restore from a backup. And that's it. And this number is really amazing. According to the FBI right now, ransom payments extorted total $1 billion last year, up from only $24 million in 2015. So you go from 24 million to $1 billion in that year, and then now this year it's even greater. And one of those things you're talking about, from the wrong line of work. Right now, successful ransomware authors can earn 163 grand a year, and that's tax-free.
That's what I was getting ready to say. That's not
You know, sorry, Phil, but they aren't paying taxes on that stuff. So these guys, you're thinking it's a couple guys at a garage, and it's not a couple guys at a garage anymore. They're making some serious money, and then the big ones are making millions and millions of dollars. So, true story. This happened to not a client, not one of the machines that we were monitoring, but lady came back from vacation, and going through her emails, this popped up. So she got infected. And what they're saying here is that you needed to send 0.07313 bitcoins. So bitcoins is an electronic currency. It's kind of like cash, but the bad guys use it on the internet. So you have to go buy a Bitcoin and then transfer it. First time I'd ever dealt with Bitcoin. And it's really pretty seedy. It actually works out to be that day, on this instance, it was $817 worth of Bitcoin to get her stuff back. And the president of the company, she went to the president, and the president of the company, oh yeah, by the way, if you don't pay this in 3 days, you lose everything. They only keep it up and running for 3 days, and then if you don't give them the money, this is going to be gone. President of the company wrote this to me. I hate doing this, literally paying a ransom, but the files are absolutely essential. Please proceed. If for some reason you get to a certain point in the hostage negotiations here, and they say it's going to cost more money, let's discuss. I would say don't go over $2,500 for this, please. And when I say seedy, I ended up having to go to a truck stop and meet a guy that gave me, I had to give him money, cash, and he put the Bitcoin into my Bitcoin account on my phone. He scanned a barcode, and he said, thanks, he's a broker. So he said, thanks for buying Bitcoin, have a good day. And I had to pay him a commission, and then I had the Bitcoin, and then I went and actually was able to process it, and we were able to get the data back. Those folks now have a good backup. So,
I've read a lot about cryptocurrencies, and I've tried to understand them, like how, the United States government can print fiat currency and the faith and good word of the United States to back it up, but it's just paper.
yep.
What backs up cryptocurrencies like this?
It varies. It varies every day, and there's now multiple cryptos. a guy asked me just last week, and he actually is spending a lot of his time kind of like day trading in the cryptocurrencies and the Bitcoins. So there's this whole new stock market kind of thing going on. I don't know.
What's to stop somebody over in China or Russia just from printing a lot of their own Bitcoins too?
Yeah, they're keeping it locked down, but don't know what.
Not any, it's basically considered right now in my industry fake money.
Right.
And if you put money into it, expect to lose it.
Yeah.
Right now, it's $6,000. It was in the last couple of weeks, up to $6,000 of Bitcoin. So there's nothing backing it up. It's just as you buy, things go up. As you sell, things go down. So if you get it at $5,500, it goes to $6,000. You're good. But if it drops down to $3,500, there's nothing backing it up right now.
Yeah, it's
nothing in the way of.
I don't understand it either. I'm staying way clear of it.
Well, I feel better now because I'm trying to get an handle on what backs it. How does it hold?
There's nothing.
No,
It's nothing.
and that's why all these things are coming online to take advantage of it. So how ransomware works once it hits your computer. So let's say that these are your pictures on your computer. Once you click the link, the program does a whole bunch of things once it hits you, and almost instantly it makes it so that you can't see anything anymore, and it pops up a screen on your computer. Looks just like this. This is the WannaCry virus, and your files are completely encrypted. Can you recover your files? Sure, we guarantee that you can recover all of your files safely and easily, but you don't have time. You can try to decrypt for free, or you have 3 days to submit your payment, and they don't put it on this one, the payment, but oh yeah, here it is right here, the $300 worth of Bitcoin to this address. So you send $300 worth of Bitcoin to that address and then hope that they will send you the decryption code. A lot of the times, if it's a big enough hit, the feds will go in there and they'll take down the server where this information lives at, and then even if you send the money to them, it's gone. I mean, there's no way for them to send it back because that server's been taken. So, like I said, there's a lot of things that happen once the virus infects your computer. It gets on the computer and it does a lot of different things. The artificial intelligence and virus software now is now looking for all of these things. This is one company called they want you to never pay the ransom, because these systems, once this happens, we're actually able to roll back everything that it does. So since we saw it do it, we can take it back to before it happened. So this company is doing a really good job of it, and there's some new things coming out on the market right now that are able to roll back. Webroot's doing a really good job of being able to roll back. So once you hit that rollback button, all of the actions that it took is able to literally just go right back to the way it was. This never is as good as having a good backup. You got to have a good backup. So that's like the very first thing. But some of these softwares are now doing a good job of being able to correct the ransomware.
So if this virus gets into your computer and an attack actually happens, will it affect anything that you have plugged into the computer for the purpose of backups?
Yes, it does. So if it sees anything on the network, so you should have your backup on the computer. You should have it offline. So if it's like a USB drive, you do the backup once a week, unplug it. Or you, at least, if not only that, it depends if it's a USB device or a NAS attached storage device. And then you should also have a backup off-site. So you can either take that device or you can do it through the cloud now, is how we do most of it. So my backups are live on a box in the business, and then I take it to two data centers, one in Utah and one up in Massachusetts, so that if anything happens across the country, we've got multiple steps of coverage. But it actually goes after everything on the network. I'll show you that here in a second. So Whole Foods, I was able to, I wrote this blog about 2 weeks ago. I was getting ready for a meeting that I was going to have with the CEO of Whole Foods. I met John Mackey last week, and guess what the topic of our conversation was about? He is very attuned. You know, he's going through an Amazon merger right now. where they're merging with Whole Foods. Wouldn't talk a lot about that, but did make a statement on the IT part, and he said IT is everything now. So, and I thought that was really interesting because we haven't thought of IT as just a little part of the business now, and now the things that it's so intertwined into everything that we do in our lives. It's just amazing. But it was an interesting conversation. I enjoyed the time. We had all that scheduled prior to his Amazon purchase, so he was obligated, and it was probably one of the last talks he's going to do before the Amazon purchase. So last night, I got notified by Homeland Security that there's a new virus out. It started out overseas. It started out attacking Russian media sites. They believe it's the North Koreans attacking. It started off as Russian media, and they have named this little guy Bad Rabbit. So I found this guy, and it's pretty interesting what it's doing. It is as of last night. It was it had made it to America last night. It was in Europe as I was writing this, and this morning I get up and it's already hitting systems here in America. So this is going to be the next WannaCry, the NotPetya. There's just another name, but I had to have a visual for the Bad Rabbit. So what it's doing, and kind of like what we're talking about here, it starts with social engineering. The outbreak is getting its files. It started off in Russia, but have you ever gone to a website and said, "Oh, your Adobe Flash Player is out of date. You need to update now"? Well, that's the thing that they're using on this particular one. So if you happen to see an Adobe update here in the next couple days, don't click it, please. And then once if you do click it, what it's going to do is it goes after everything that's written into the computer as far as any usernames, root, guest, administrator. And it goes through a list of the worst passwords. So if you are a bad password maker, it's going to guess your password within minutes. And then once it knows all that stuff, it actually looks across the other computers. So anything that's plugged into your computer, other machines, hard drives and things like that. And then it encrypts your files. And the nasty part about it is also encrypts the master boot records. So the next time you go to boot, the computer won't boot. Because it's going to make it so that it can't restart again. So it's I'm not sure if this thing is even going to be able, if we're going to be able to pay the ransom or decrypt it. I know that we're not going to decrypt it, but I don't even think you're going to be able to pay the ransom to get out of it because it's actually affecting the way the computer starts, and that doesn't go away. So some things that you can do on this specific one is get rid of Flash. Uninstall, how you're saying the list of programs, go uninstall Adobe Flash Player, see what happens. See what you have on your computer that really needs Flash anymore, and it's not that much. So get rid of Flash, Java also, and then if you have something that you have to have it for, then you can consider putting it back on. Keep up with your patches. If you are not switched over to Windows 10, which is pushing patches automatically, then make sure that you go into your computer and just check for Windows updates, or have a system that's going to be doing your patches for you. And backups. I can't say it enough. Make sure that you're doing your backup regularly. For my businesses, we back up every hour, and then we offsite at least once a day, depending on the business, at the very least once a day. And don't make people administrators. This goes way back where you have just a user account that the negative part to that is every time you go to install a program you have to become an administrator, and it's such a pain. But the bad guys, if they aren't administrators, well, they can't install the program as easy, so they have to become an administrator and they're going to ask you for it. So try to change that, and it's hard. It's hard to not have an administrator account, but it does really slow them down. It's something that you should consider. And there's so much stuff out there about you on the internet, and good files and bad files. So if you think about Dropbox, who in your company is using Dropbox right now, and the little sitting duck emblem down here. If you have to use Dropbox, I know there's a reason that some of you have to have it. At least turn on two-factor authentication so that nobody can get into your account without having your cell phone also. So when you go to sign in, you sign in with a username and password, which is going to be stealable, but then they also have to get the code off of your phone. And so that makes it much more difficult. There's a lot of services like your email services and bank services that will use that two-factor authentication. Every time you ever see two-factor authentication available to you, turn it on. Take the 2 seconds, and that way, when somebody tries to sign in with your stolen credentials, they have to have your phone too, which makes it much more difficult. And the phones themselves, just like we were talking about the Android phones, the malware is growing on them, and it's hard to identify. It's really hard to find. You know, you get pop-ups and things like that, but it's hard to resolve it on the phones, and it puts your business at risk if your folks are coming into your business and hitting your network with an infected phone. That infection can then transfer through the network on that from that phone to the rest of your account. So I like to create a guest network for employees for their phones so that they can still have access to the data plan while they're at the office, but then that's segregated away from the shared files so they can't get in quite as easy. And in Tennessee, a lost phone, if it has your information on it, can be considered a breach. So in Tennessee, personal information is considered a person's first name or first initial, a last name in combination with the driver's license or social, or any of these things, any logins or passwords related to financial records, credit cards, access codes, and passwords. So first initial, last name, and then anything else is PII. So it's data that I can be tracked by. And if you lose my data in Tennessee, you have to report it to Tennessee, period. And unless the computer was encrypted or your phone was encrypted, which the Apples are, the Androids are not. So you have to consider what you have in your files and how you're protecting them. So just to let you know that this was a hospital, and they lost $650,000 fine after losing just 412 patients' data on a unencrypted phone. So that's just 400, and they got hit real hard.
Speaking of encryption, can I ask a question?
Sure.
My laptop has to be fully disk encrypted.
Right.
All disk.
Yep.
Okay. Does that keep them out?
It doesn't keep them out while your computer's on, but if you lose your computer, if it's lost or stolen, they aren't going to be able to get in.
So they want to make sure if it's stolen, that nobody
Yep.
can get in. So.
Yeah, so if I pull that hard drive out, I can't get your data. It's impossible. But if we figured out what your password was, then I can turn it on, open it up, and then transfer the data off. So that's why you have to have a good password too. But if the computer's encrypted, we don't have to tell nobody anything. It's okay. Yeah. So if my doctors for HIPAA and nurses when they travel or anything like that, if their computers are stolen, it's okay. Yeah, it's not, but we don't have to worry about losing that data on there.
FINRA requires it for this laptops.
Yeah, and HIPAA does for us also, but state of Tennessee, just any data that you're carrying on your clients. And then finally, number 7, spam remains to be the single biggest driver of the big breaches today. This is a company that I pulled from. This is their email from last week. So this red line up here shows you all of the spam that they've gotten compared to the good emails. 72% of their email last week was spam. They got 541 spam emails per day. And the interesting thing is that I block almost all countries except for U.S. and the United Kingdom, a couple other little countries, but all the other countries are blocked from this site. So they can't even, they don't even count. And the spam, the quantity of spam that we're getting is just amazing. And the viruses that are part of that, some of the links that come in the spam emails are, the link itself is a good link until you click it. Once you click it, then it becomes a virus. So the email comes in and gets scanned by your antivirus protection, and it doesn't even know because it's not a virus yet. It doesn't become a virus. That's how they're sneaking in. So how do you protect yourself from all this stuff? There's 7 additional steps to watch for. You need a good, solid, unified threat management system, so lots of layers. So you have to have a good business class firewall that's constantly updated, not one that you put in 3 years ago that's never been updated. You have to monitor those systems and make sure that the web threats and the employees are doing what they're supposed to be doing and not getting infected. Have a business class antivirus system and malware program on there, like a WebRoot, a Malwarebytes. There's some good business class systems, and they're changing right now as I speak. Make sure all the updates are done, that all of your applications are patched. All of these vulnerabilities that these bad guys are using are things that aren't patched in your systems. So that's how they get in. When something's broken, they find a way in. Make sure that you have a good spam filter that's trying to block out a lot of the bad emails that you're getting. And total data protection by providing a good backup and business continuity. And then finally, the one thing that you can do the most is make sure that your people are the best human firewall and are paying attention to what they're clicking. So bottom line is that you have to get serious about protecting your company against cybercrime. So I've got four steps for you. 4 things that you should do is go through security awareness training. Make sure that everybody understands what not to click on, and similar to what we're doing here today. You should have a threat assessment against your company and make sure that make sure that your antivirus software is done and your patches are being done. Have your IT provider do it, or a third party. I do it for companies, of course. But you get a second set of eyes to make sure that the person that's supposed to be doing it is doing it properly. Create an action plan on what's discovered there, and to make sure that all of your systems are secure from theft and compromise. And then you've got to continue to maintain it. You can't just set it and forget it and hope that it's going to be done. That break-fix model just doesn't work anymore. So you have to monitor. That's why I do the flat fee. I cover everything now. I don't have to send a bill because every time I want to go look at something for you. I don't have to hit my clients with time. It's a flat fee. I can dig in as deep as I want. If I want to spend 10 hours looking at something, it's on me. All right, so again, my business card is on the table at the back, along with some swag from WebRoot. They were kind enough to send along, so grab a flashlight and let me know if you have any questions.
Brian, do you do consulting?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, be happy to help. Yeah, we provide IT services too, for sure.
I figured that.
Yeah, but that wasn't the plan for today. I think the number one thing to keep everybody protected is training. I just put a company of 50 people through the training. Everybody was positive about it. The only person that I can't get to do it right now is the CEO, and he's the guy that signs those. And they do a bunch of wire transfers. I was talking to the president yesterday, and the president said, "Okay, well, next time I get off of a plane, I'll do it." But the CEO, trying to get him to do it, and I can only do so much. You know, I really can't. That's why I carry good insurance. Because you know what's going to happen. The first time it gets breached, I know the phone call. Brad, why did you let this happen to me? So that's exactly what's happening.
Very good.
All right, guys. Thanks. Thanks. Thank you.
I should get some lunch before you.
Yeah, I will.